Do you remember when you decided, I want to be a filmmaker?
Pretty early on, I think when I was maybe 11 or 12 or something like that, my buddy and I were messing around with an 8mm. So my buddy and I, we tried to do some fight scenes and set up the camera on the side and just see what we could do. And I threw a back kick. I didn't even know it was called a back kick. But I didn't really do anything for years after that until I started feeling more confident about the martial art movements that I wanted to do.
And was it always action stuff that you wanted to do, like martial arts stuff, when you picked up the camera?
I wanted to make a film first. Even though I wanted to do the fight scenes, sure, but all I had been watching at that time was, 90s action movies, and I just started getting into Hong Kong stuff at that time. I did want to do a story from beginning to end and have dialogue and do acting scenes that I really should not have done. And
as you're shooting shorts, are you training as a martial artist?
Yeah, never stopped. So it's been, about 25 years now, just the Hapkido style punching and kick stuff, and that obviously changes slightly when you take it to the screen because, certain things have to be done a different way. It's almost like another martial art. My foundation was in Hapkido, and then when you start learning screen fighting, certain moves become a little bit different.
So you're shooting shorts with your friends on Mini DV, and what did you decide, I want to really kind of dig into this and maybe even make it a career?
Because the first short we made was just for us, me and my buddies to watch, and it was 35 minutes, which is an eternity for a short.
Oh my God.
And it had 3 acts and everything, and I really wanted to tell this story, of redemption and all this stuff. And we all looked too young. There was a public access television station at that time, and they had these half-hour slots. I said, the one I made is too long. Let me make one that's about 26, 27 minutes. And then I can actually, put this on tape, take it down there and give it to them and actually have this time slot. Just doing that, just thinking that way kind of got me into wanting to pay attention to pacing and all that kind of thing.
So you decided to shoot a whole other short instead of editing down the one that you had already made?
Because right when I'm done with everything, I don't like it. I finished the 35-minute one and I'm going, nah, I got to do a better job than
So
this.
did you get that slot?
Yeah. I made another one short enough and I put it on there, and I was very proud that I got it within the parameters that they, required, but it wasn't good either. It had some advancements, but it wasn't good either.
As a martial artist, and at this point, a filmmaker, did you ever set your sights on a goal, like I'm gonna make a feature film by the time I get out of high school?
At that time, I had a group of buddies with me that who were making the last couple with me, and it was right around that time that I connected with Eric Jacobus and a couple guys. And then we just merged our groups together. With all of us together, why don't we just go for a feature film?
So at this point, Eric had his own group, right? The Stunt People. And he had done stuff like Undercut.
Yeah, so Steve Reedy and him did that short, Undercut. And that was right at the time that I was hanging out with them and mixing it up with them. Because at first, Eric's group was a couple guys up in Redding. And I was down in the San Francisco Bay Area. I figured they were way up there. And we were down in the Bay a couple years later after, because my buddy Ray showed me some stuff that they were doing. And I said, that's cool. We're just nowhere near each other. But then when he did Escapee with Ed and Andy, it was at SF State. And I said, wait, they're local? What happened? Because those were new guys too, Ed and Andy. That's when I reached out and I said, are you local? Because if you're local, why aren't we all, let's all connect.
So you made a feature film with Eric called COUNTOUR. Did you make a lot of shorts leading up to that? Or did you just jump into it and go, let's just do it?
The shorts were not even shorts. They were called practice fights or test fights. We were just trying to figure out the brand and also get semi-familiar with all of us and how we moved with each other and everything and who can do what. It was a good training to lead up to the actual film.
And when you compare your style to Eric's style, what are the big differences there?
What's cool is that there's differences with everybody in the group. I went to a Hapkido school where we had about 3 or 4 teachers and they all moved differently, which made for an interesting group of students because the couple guys, Ray and Troy, that were with me who came from the Hapkido school, I think all 3 of us moved different. We're different sizes and shapes, but we all moved different. In Eric's group, Andy was a Taekwondo guy, Ed was a Wushu guy. So everybody really did kind of have their own way of movement. So it was cool to put everybody together and force the dance to happen with people that just threw things differently. So it can be done. That was kind of the cool part, is that we found out that, oh, this will work.
So for people that haven't seen COUNTOUR, I think it is a flat-out masterpiece of action. And whenever I saw you guys talk about it, I get the feeling that your first impression was, oh man, this is going to be easy. We'll shoot it in 10 days, and then we'll have a feature film. No problem. We can do this.
I think all of us were kind of riding on the high that, I mean, we had all just come together. The stuff that we were doing, we were all pumped about. First night that I hung out with them, Vlad Rimberg, who was up there with this other guy, Sean Charney, they came up from LA and they were training there. And this is the first night I'm meeting everybody. You know, we're just training, regular pad work and stuff like that, and just kind of laughing and getting to know each other. And then towards the end of the night, Vlad says, hey, we're going to shoot something and you're going to be in the middle of it and we're all going to attack you. I just met everybody. We're just about to start making something now, right away. And then when we were done shooting it, because it was just a short fight, Vlad said, Eric's going to edit it right now. And I go, what do you mean? You know, right now. It'll be done tonight? When it was done that night, I really think the momentum, it just never stopped from there because everybody was really pumped to mix this up and the turnaround was so quick. And at that time, the DVX was brand new, the Panasonic DVX camera, and it had the 24p, 24 progressive frames. So we were all kind of pumped and saying, oh man, we got a camera here. It's digital, but it shoots like film, you know? So I think we were just all crazy.
Hollywood, here we come.
Yeah. We were all just thinking this is gonna be dope because we're just gonna keep doing what we do. It's gonna end up being 24 frames, so it's gonna be on the level, you know? But we didn't know much about lighting and sound and all that other important stuff at the time. We were just thinking we're gonna make a Hong Kong action type film, you know?
So Eric's the star of the film, and you get the role of the main villain. Do you remember if it was a long conversation about which role you should play?
It's funny because a couple times around that time, his buddies were casting me as the villain, the lead villain.
They're just like, he's got a villainous face.
Yeah, do I give off that vibe? It's fun for me to play the villain. I mean, at that time, I don't think I did a great job acting. I think I'd love to redo it now. I'd love to go back into that character now, especially now that we all look kind of older and a little bit more like we should have looked.
And so you finished COUNTOUR, and where were you going from there? Had you finished school by this point, or did you have a job or something?
At that time, I was teaching full-time, 6 days a week at the martial arts school that I grew up, you know, learning. I did that for 17 years. You know, after 5 years training there, I started teaching there as an assistant. A couple of years later, you know, I was full-time. I went to SF State for a couple of years, and I tried to take film courses and classes and stuff, but I was prevented from getting into a lot of the things that I wanted to because of prerequisites and things like that. And I kind of felt like I was wasting money. That's around the time where I wanted to start making my own stuff and see what I could learn on my own and how to edit and all that stuff. So yeah, we were doing COUNTOUR, and then after I would go to teach.
And were you like,
oh, I was dying. One time I showed up, I had a fever. I showed up to do a fight, and I was like, I could do this. And as soon as we started moving, I said, I can't do this. I'm sorry, you know. But it was a crazy time, man. Just the energy that I had back then.
I look at your credits during that time, and there's a lot of stuff. Was there a moment where you decided, okay, I'm going to focus 100% on filmmaking stuff?
I haven't yet been able to. So 17 years teaching, I did 8 for my master, and then the next 9 was when I had my own school. That whole story is crazy because I didn't set out to have a school. There was just certain circumstances and things that happened.
So you defeated someone, and then you won the school, and...
Shh. The guy that ran the place was going to sell it. And at the time, I was teaching all the kids' classes and everything, and he said, if you buy the school and keep it going, you already have a student body that goes for you, that, you know, all the parents know you. The adults would train with him, but he said half of them will probably go and half of them will stay or whatever, you know, if they know you. Because I wanted to get into acting around that time, and I had just gotten an agent, and I was thinking, this is the kind of income that would allow me to do auditions in the daytime, because martial arts schools will open at, you know, 2, 3, 4 o'clock after kids get out of school. So it would give me those daytimes to audition for things. I just tried to keep doing shorts at that time with Vlad, with Eric. And so that never really stopped, but I could never financially feel secure enough to say, all right, I don't want to teach anymore. I'm just going to go be a filmmaker, because it was always about like, well, why would I stop, or why would I let go of the business that's paying my bills if I can still make things? And other things were made during the run of that business. We made a couple feature films with my buddy Jose Montesinos. So it never really was stopping. I just felt like I couldn't just completely cut ties, and love to do that, man. Still to this day, I would love to just not worry about money and just go, I just want to make a film next year.
Yeah, it's tough with the whole money thing.
Yeah. God. Yeah, the money thing.
I mean, I've seen some of the stuff that you did, like Bound by Blood.
Oh, man. You saw Bound by Blood. Wow, yeah. That was the first stunt job that I had that was out of state. Yeah, because we went to Indiana. And we got paid real little, but that was crazy. That was just a cool experience to actually say, I'm going out of state to do a stunt job for a movie. It was a cool time.
That's a fun one, because you look at it and you go, whoa, all the stunt people are in this.
There was 4 of us that came out there. A lot of the guys that also, came to the set were, wanted to get into stunts or martial artists and stuff. It was a cool group.
So you had a full-time job, but you were still spending every waking moment making movies.
I do want to go all in. I want to tell the government, hey, pay me for a year. I want to go make a movie. Man, it was hard. So we just, we made do, and movies came out, even though I had that crazy schedule. That's why the things that we made took so long. That's why Unlucky took so long. My buddy Jose, he made a feature drama, like a crime drama, where that took a while because it was done very Indian guerrilla as well. Yeah, so everything that we did, we would always have to schedule in mornings, weekdays, and then sometimes on weekends, likely Sunday, because Saturday was teaching, and we had to be creative about scheduling.
So you mentioned that you taught at a school that you owned for 9 years. Eventually that ended and you moved to LA, right?
That was kind of a bittersweet time, because a lot of businesses in the San Francisco Bay Area were getting shut down because rent was just going way up immediately. Mom and pop shops were going down left and right. Rent raises were going crazy. Mine was $2,000 in 1 month. I said, well, to the landlord, I said, you know what you're doing. I can't do that. He did it to me in the summer. That's when I have a dip in students, because they go on break and they freeze accounts and they cut. So at that time, Unlucky was just about done. So that's why I'm saying it was bittersweet. It was a weird time in my life, because the movie was just about to be done. We were about to screen it October or November for cast, and that school shut down in July, August was our last couple months there. So when that all happened, I said, I know people in Los Angeles. I got a couple buddies. I think I gotta go. And I talked to my lady, and she was down for it. It was kind of a crazy thing looking back. I mean, this was the end of 2015, beginning of 2016, me going to Los Angeles without a job lined up and thinking, you know what, I have to see if I can get into some stunts and stuff and see how that goes. And luckily, because of Vlad and other people that I knew, I was able to get work pretty quickly, considering, because first couple months was hard, and I actually got called back to the Bay for a job after I moved. That was funny, and that really saved me for the first couple months. And then the next couple months was saved by a job with Vlad. And then as time went on, I would go back and forth from the Bay to LA doing either motion capture or some stunt work down in LA.
So since then, you've been able to kind of balance that as a career, doing motion capture and stunt stuff?
Somehow, you get through it. There were some really tough months where you go, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. This is too crazy to live like this. How are you gonna?
No regular income. You're like, when is a call gonna come in?
Yeah, how do you know what to do? And then that went away with this, recent job that I have with coordinating for the game company, and I want to get back into a filmmaking mindset and world, and COVID is not helping me.
Well, speaking of stuff that you were in that a lot of people saw, you were in Rope-A-Dope 1 and 2, and that kind of went viral, didn't it?
I think those are really fun, and I don't know what constitutes viral nowadays in terms of views and stuff like that. That was the first time in a while that Eric and I got back together to do something again. I'm really proud of both of those things. Rope-A-Dope 1 and 2 I felt like it was an upgrade for us on the film side of things, because we had this DP, Drew, who shot the stuff in a very collaborative way. And we were thinking, man, if we can just continue to do our brand of what we think is good action with a DP like this, who can move with us and understands what we're trying to do, and then obviously have power over the edit in the end, so that you're getting what you put out. I think that kind of re-sparked a lot of things, and those two films are the reasons why I was able to meet you, because Rope-a-Dope 1 and 2 is what got us onto Man Who Can Feel No Pain in India. So it got Eric and I out there for that.
And was that the first time that someone contacted you and was like, hey, your stuff is amazing and I want you to come work for us?
Yeah, for me, it was a first. I think Eric and other guys, I think they've been contacted several times for all types of stuff. For me, that was the only time and the first time I felt like, oh, something that we made because we wanted to actually got us a job. And it actually got us an income. You know, you hope for that. You dream for, okay, if I just keep doing stuff I want to do, then hopefully somebody's going to like that and want to collaborate with you. And, you know, you're just hoping that it's going to lead somewhere. And that was the first time for me.
When I was 15 and I saw Contour, I was like, these guys must be superstars. They're so good at what they do. They must be just raking in the dough.
I thought about it for a while, but I kind of let it go. But I thought about, man, what if Contour came out years later? You know, when YouTube and all these social media things were nuts, because we didn't have all that. So I'm actually surprised that you or a lot of people were able to find Contour.
I definitely saw it on the Kung Fu Cult cinema boards, where people on those forums were always sharing links of stunt people stuff.
I'm surprised when people say they got a hold of that or saw it, you know. Again, we didn't know anything about distribution, how to put it out, how to get the word out. You put all this heart and soul into something, and you stand there with your group, and you're like, hell yeah, we did it. What do we do with it?
Will you give me some money for it, please? And they just look at you and they're like, no.
And then a distributor comes along like with me and Unlucky and goes, hey, we love your thing. We're going to sell it and give you nothing.
So it sounds like your main goal is to get out there and to direct more stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't mind being in front of the camera as long as I can do it, as long as I can, you know, move, and I hope I do a good job acting. If I can make films and be behind camera too, that's fine. I just want to be in that world where that's the job, is just to make things collaboratively. And I'm a little bit worried about the idea of big studio involvement. I'm trying not to let that deter me from opportunities, you know, just mentally. But I always hear about these action teams that get together and everything looks like this is the formula. It's gonna work. And then in the edit, or some producer comes along or something, and then all that work, all that stuff just goes boom, you know, and that doesn't get me too excited or enthusiastic about wanting to go into that world. But what I'm hoping, and I think everybody, you know, trying to make films and action and all that stuff is kind of dreaming for, if you keep making things that stand up to your standards and then they get noticed, then you're hoping that somebody comes along and goes, hey, okay, so I like what you're making. I want you to do another one. Go do it. I won't bother you. I just want to be a part of it and help with it and produce it or whatever. That's what I think we're all hoping for.
I think that when you're a teenager, you think that the way that it's going to happen is you'll make this thing, people will see it, and they'll be like, wow, this is good. Here's a bunch of work. But instead, it's like, oh, you made a feature film? Who cares?
Yeah, who cares? Who's in it? What's your demographic? Where are you selling it? That won't work. What's the genre? That's not going to sell, you know.
So after all the troubles that went into Unlucky Stars, could you see yourself doing another indie style project again?
Yeah, I wouldn't be so ambitious in terms of Unlucky Stars was insane.
The next one's going to be like 1 location, 5 actors.
Exactly. I'll do that. But yeah, no, Unlucky was nuts, man. 3 cities and 10,000 people, and it's insane. I don't know what the hell I was thinking a lot of the time.
What are your biggest inspirations when it comes to action on screen? Like, what do you think of when you're making or just choreographing something and that you want to replicate it or kind of live up to its spirit?
For action on screen, I kind of have a variety of things, because I'm also looking at the movie. So like, for example, Big Trouble in Little China is one of my favorite films ever, because it's got this ensemble cast. I think I watch this thing at least once a year just to get the vibe and feel good about filmmaking again, because it's fun. You know, the action is, a lot of the time, it's fantasy mixed with martial arts, so you get, you know, cool special effects and cool ideas, and sometimes the fighting isn't shot exactly the way like a Jackie Chan, Sammo Hung film would be shot, but there's this overall energy that goes from beginning to the end that I feel it ends up being the most important thing to have in an action film. So as much as I would like to do exactly the kind of action in a Sammo Hung film or a Jackie Chan film or something like that, I think the overall, you know, ride would outweigh that a little. So like if I had to lose a crazy showdown between 2 people, or at least shorten a crazy showdown that I would want to be longer, or something like that, I'd probably go to shorten it and just make it really good, as long as the whole film gave me that feeling that Big Trouble does. Any Jackie Sammo Hung film, you know, from the 80s, 90s will get me pumped to want to make a film in terms of martial art action. Like Wheels on Meals and Dragons Forever. And yeah, I kind of look at like action on screen, you know, in two ways. You get the fighting and then you have just action. So like some of the action sequences in True Lies to this day are still crazy to me. Action sequences from T2 are still crazy. Mad Max Fury Road is like, it's unimaginable. Beginning to end, if you're talking about like just action on screen, that's one of the most insane action films of all time. I think I really do have to keep it separate, like action on screen versus martial art fighting on screen. You know, because that Mission Impossible Fallout bathrooms fight is, to this day, is still one of my favorite fights in the last 20 years, just because I could see what's going on. It has interesting character development in the fight, really. I mean, it just sets up that they're not invincible, that a really good fighter could take them down. It's early enough in the movie where you kind of go, oh, this is going this way, you know, and then you kind of worry about them from that point on. Doing fights like that, I think, are kind of the standard right now, or at least my standard for how I want things to feel and look. I draw from a lot of different places when I want to get pumped about what kind of action I want to see.
Well, thank you so much for doing this, Dennis. I really appreciate it.